Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. And if you were watching the price of silver today, you probably noticed it got creamed. Of course, it wasn't just silver. Stocks and commodities across the board got hit, with the exception, that is, of crude oil. Gold also took a beating and finished the session below the psychologically important level of $1,700. So, what triggered the sell-off? Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's comments seemed to do the trick. The chairman gave an interview at the Wall Street Journal Jobs Summit where he downplayed the threat of inflation and implied the Fed would continue with its easy money policy. However, it seems like markets were expecting a bit more from him, possibly a commitment to intervene in the bond market and keep treasury rates low. No commitment of this sort was forthcoming, and stocks immediately sold off as interest rates ticked up noticeably. Silver also, of course, took a big hit, down almost 4%. So what's all this mean for silver in the long term? Well, look, the Fed may not have committed to yield curve control or further quantitative easing today, but more of that is coming. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Jerome Powell, who, by the way, along with Janet Yellen, is a supporter of yield curve control as a policy tool, and I'll tell you more about that in just a moment, I wouldn't be surprised if he knew exactly what the response to his commentary today would be. I think what we may be looking at is a bit of a Hegelian dialectic, or problem-reaction-solution. Powell knows that without Fed intervention, rates will continue to move up and prick the bubble in the stock market, and the Fed can't allow that. But he also knows that further intervention in the form of quantitative easing and yield curve control could do some serious damage to the dollar. So I think what we'll see is the Fed will allow rates to move up a bit until trouble starts brewing. Then, when there's a bit of a crisis, the problem, or the first part of the dialectic, probably in the form of stocks falling, the market will clamor for Fed assistance. That's part two, the reaction. And then the Fed can come in and do however much intervention and control they like, aka the solution. And if this is problematic for the dollar and inflation starts to run out of control, well, what choice did the Fed have? You see, it's getting to a point where the Fed is between a rock and a hard place. The Fed is going to have to choose between letting bond yields continue their upward move, sacrificing the stock market in the process, or they can intervene in the bond market in a big way with either quantitative easing or yield curve control, thus sacrificing the dollar. At the end of the day, I'm pretty sure the Fed will be choosing the latter of those two options. Why do you think they've been floating all this talk about a new digital currency? If the dollar in its current incarnation is sacrificed on the altar of modern monetary theory, that would be the perfect time to move in and switch to whatever digital dollar future currency they have planned. And I mentioned a moment ago that Powell was a supporter of the use of yield curve control. Let me read to you a quick excerpt from a press conference Powell gave back in June 10th, 2020. Quote, "So at this meeting, what we did was we looked in some depth at forward guidance and asset purchases and looked carefully at those. We also received a briefing on the historical experience with yield curve control. And we'll continue those discussions in upcoming meetings and evaluate our stance and communications as more and more information about the trajectory of the economy becomes available. I would just say, in terms of what we're looking for, we expect to get a better understanding of the economy's trajectory, and particularly, how we should best deploy those tools to achieve those goals. So that's really what we're looking to achieve. And, as you can see, we're actively at work on that." Unquote. Well, I think he'll have his opportunity to deploy those tools in short order. And of course, when he does, that will be very bad for the dollar. And very bullish indeed for silver. And guys, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. It helps spread this information, and I really appreciate it. Remember guys, physical silver is a long-term play. If you're a strong hand, pullbacks like today's are nothing more than an opportunity to add to your stack. That's why it's best to never go all in at one time when purchasing physical, and it's always a good idea to keep some powder dry for pullbacks as well. However, if you were hoping to pick up some cheap silver on this pullback, it might be a little tough, as even though the spot price of silver is down to almost $25, Silver Eagles are still running about $35 each. So once again, moves in the paper market do not necessarily equate to cheaper prices for physical silver. But of course, that's kind of exactly the reason we stack in the first place. And I suspect premiums may be elevated for a while now, as the Silver Squeeze GoFundMe has raised over $100,000 at this point for billboards promoting physical silver. And if you guys haven't gone over to the Wall Street Silver subreddit and checked out some of the billboard designs that people have proposed, you should. There are some really great ones. So we may be seeing a lot of new buyers entering the market soon because of these billboards. But not as many as we will when the Fed finally finishes off the dollar. That's when we'll be seeing everybody scramble to get their hands on gold and silver to protect their wealth, and there isn't going to be enough of it to go around. So, while none of this is financial advice, you may want to consider doing some stacking before that day comes. So, what do you guys think will happen with interest rates and the Fed going forward? How do you think that will affect inflation in precious metals? Let me know in the comments below. Oh, and if you guys haven't heard the Silver Squeeze rap yet, check it out right here. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker out.